Wave 5 has released recently. After giving myself enough time to fully take in all the brand new courses in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I wanted to share my opinion on them with all of you guys. Let's just get straight into it. Before I talk about the new courses, however, I want to give a few brief words on the new DLC characters. In order of how hyped they are, we got Wiggler, Kamek, and Petey Piranha. That's not to say that none of the characters are hype, however, as they're all really exciting to have in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. With that out of the way, let me share my thoughts on all the new courses. I have limited experience with all the city tracks this time around, especially Athens Dash, as it hasn't been out in tour for very long. But I really like this one because it doesn't feel the same as all the other ones. Now, I love most of the city courses in this game due to their unique mechanic of having a different route each lap, but Athens has more to it than that. I don't know, I guess I just like the fact that it doesn't fully take place in the actual city like all the other city tracks do. However, I can't say I'm a huge fan of the course design, not because the route is bad, necessarily, but because there are so many blind spots, such as the jump just before the big U-turn on the first lap, or the left turn before the second lap, and that first ramp preceding the falling rocks. These all kind of tripped me up at first when I came across them, and even now they continue to do so. I'm sure I'll eventually get used to the course layout so that it no longer throws me off guard when I come across those areas. But that doesn't change the fact that, in my opinion, this course isn't exactly well designed. I still think the course is really fun. It just has a few design flaws here and there. But overall, this track is really good. You guys honestly have no idea how much I love Daisy Cruiser. I would say it's one of my favorite courses of all time. They didn't really make any significant changes to this track that weren't already there in Mario Kart Tour, but at least this track is just as fun to play on in this game as any other game that it is in. The moving tables that give the illusion that the ship is rocking back and forth is a really nice touch. I don't remember if that was a thing in Mario Kart Tour or not, but it gives this course the challenge that it needs to be as good as it is. Not to mention the absolutely incredible remix. God damn did they go hard with this song. Out of all DLC remixes in the game so far, I think this might just be my favorite one. Now perhaps that's just my Daisy Cruiser bias talking, but the melody is so nice and soothing to listen to in this game. Not to mention the additional violins in the background. I'm just in awe. I am very glad they picked this course. It is by far my favorite course in all of Wave 5. Moonview Highway is a track that I think we can all agree was very unexpected. A lot of people think that this means Wii Rainbow Road no longer has a chance at the end of Wave 6, but from what I understand, data miners have pretty much confirmed otherwise. Now, of course, that doesn't mean it's guaranteed to make it anyway. For all we know, it was never intended to be a track at all. But that's all beside the point. About the track itself, I didn't like this track very much in Mario Kart Wii. I always found it unnecessarily difficult, even for a Special Cup course. However, now that I've played it in this game, I have a feeling that was only because I didn't like the mechanics in that game in general, combined with the fact that I was kind of young back then. Sure, it's still annoying for the same reason Toad's Turnpike is, but unlike Toad's Turnpike, this track at least has an interesting course layout. One thing I find so interesting about it is the fact that the boost panels are arranged slightly differently each time you play. I actually mentioned during my live stream that they should have made it like that, but I didn't realize they actually had until later on. I think it is because there are only like 2 or 3 variations of boost panel layouts for the game to choose from. I'm not really sure, but I do know that there are multiple possible ones. Again, this track is still annoying to play, but it's at least improved from what it was like in Mario Kart Wii, and I do really enjoy it. Squeaky Clean Sprint is a brand new course that has a horrible name, but at least makes up for it in track design. There is a lot going on with this track to make it so fun. First of all, we got the bathtub section, where it is filled with water and contains bath bombs for you to trick off of. Then you got the drain pipe with flowing water and items and coins following you along the way, complete with a Mario Odyssey ring. Next up is the giant fan that tries to push you towards a randomly placed half pipe, even though it is quite obviously not worth it. Then you got the glider over the toilet, which shoots a geyser out of it for the second half of the race, which allows you to make a choice between 2 levels of the shelf, the top of which opens up even more routes to take after crossing the finish line. There is so much going on in this track, I don't know how anyone wouldn't enjoy it. Out of all the non-city Nitro courses, this is by far my favorite one. I would even go as far as saying it is one of the best courses in the entire game. Los Angeles Laps is one I've been eagerly waiting for since the beginning of the Booster Course Pass, for the sole purpose of seeing how they would implement it. I always assumed they would make it a section-based track, mainly because of the 3 different finish lines, which they obviously did. I think it's nice to see more section-based tracks since there aren't very many of them as it is. Originally, I had written a scathing review for this track, as I don't really like it that much. Now, that's still true, but over time, I have come to not hate it quite as much as I did before. I mean, I still find it relatively boring, but the course layout can sort of make up for that at times. However, the music is still my most hated part of this track. Honestly, I just can't stand it. And no, it's not because I removed the vocals, it's simply because it just sounds awful. I never thought that I would actually hate a song in this game. Now, because I have very little experience with this track in Mario Kart Tour, I wasn't really sure what to expect when it finally did come to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But still, I'm very disappointed with this course. I've always loved Sunset Wilds and Mario Kart Super Circuit. If I remember right, it was my favorite course in that game. I was kind of disappointed with it in Mario Kart Tour for the same reason as Sky Garden though, being that the layout was not at all faithful to the original. Now, Sunset Wilds isn't quite as bad in that regard, but if you put the 2 maps side by side, you can still see they aren't the same track at all. At least, though, the theme of the new version resembles the old version. The track is very pretty, and despite the oversimplified layout, it is really fun. The thing about it that I find to be one of the most disappointing things in the entire DLC is the one thing that this track was known for: the sunset. Now, yes, of course, the sunset, as in the current state of the sun, is still there. But I'm talking about the main gimmick, where the sun would go down throughout the duration of the race. That's what made this track so unique, and they completely removed it. I'm really surprised that they didn't try to incorporate this mechanic in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, especially considering they still had it in Tour. And it is the only track in the entire series to have anything like this. A lot of people might argue that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe doesn't support lighting changes or whatever, but Nintendo can literally change that if they wanted to. And even if for some reason they couldn't make the lighting change throughout the track, then why even put the track in the game in the first place? There are a lot of other GBA courses they could have chosen in its place. Now, I'm not going to try to say it completely ruins the fun of Sunset Wilds, but it does significantly lower my rating for the track. Nintendo really seems to have a fun habit of picking the most fan-favorited maps in Mario Kart Wii to add to the Booster Course Pass. Koopa Kit is no exception. The track is absolutely fun, even in Mario Kart Wii. The music is a bop, and I don't think I've ever met anyone who doesn't like this course. But when this track was released in Mario Kart Tour, just looking at it, I had a feeling I wouldn't be a fan of it if it ever came to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Unfortunately, I was right. Now, I still find it fun, but this version just feels very watered down compared to Mario Kart Wii. Aesthetically, it's very boring with the exception of the water section. I do like that they added anti-gravity during that section. It also feels kind of cramped, kind of like it was downscaled too much, just like Coconut Mall. And I don't know about anyone else, but does it feel like the road from the finish line to the start of the river section feels a little too slippery? Kind of feels like I'm driving on ice during that part. Overall, this track just feels very unpolished and needs a lot of work. Last up, we got Vancouver Velocity. I am very surprised that this track wasn't saved through Wave 6, given the fact that it's sort of winter themed. Now, for the most part, I do really like this track. I just want to mention how stunning the visuals are on this track. The music is fun to listen to as well. There are 2 main things that I want to criticize about it. The first thing is I don't really like the amount of blind spots there are, particularly the ramps that are just before Sharp's turns. I do feel like there are a few too many of those. The other thing is the route. I think the route is fine. I just think the laps should have been in reverse order that they currently are, because lap 3 just feels kind of underwhelming compared to the rest of the race. So I think if they flipped laps 1 and 3 around, the track would be a little better. But honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. For the most part, this track is really good, and I do really enjoy it a lot. Overall, Wave 5 isn't quite as good as I was hoping it would be. Although the selection of tracks is very good, the quality of most of the remakes are not up to the standard that I would have expected them to be, particularly those in the Cherry Cup. Regardless, I'm still excited to have even more courses to choose from and can't wait to see what Wave 6 will have to offer in the coming months. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please leave a like and check out my regular content on my channel. If you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe. It'll be much appreciated. With that being said, I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.